Hey, folks, welcome back to another episode of Pocket Shooters, the show that's all about mastering mobile photography. In this episode, we're going to be talking about how you can make your photos look a little bit better by one little technique that Julio's going to share with us. It's something that's very simple that you may not have, it may not have occurred to you. Before we dive into that, I want to remind folks that we are supporting this show through your efforts. So head over to patreon.com/pocketshooters, patreon.com/pocketshooters, and donate to help us keep the lights on here at Pocket Shooters virtual headquarters. Julio Shorio. Dude.
Frederick Van Johnson.
It is I. All right, dude. Okay, let's dive right in. I love these kind of episodes because we take a couple seconds at the top for housekeeping, and then we dive right into the content. You have something to share with us about a different way that people can use today to get better photos from their mobile phones. What is it?
Actually, let me get a shot of you first. There we go. Good. So vary your angles. If you want to get something different, vary your angles. Try something different with your angles, and there's so many ways to do it. And
vary your angles, meaning vary your perspective.
Change your perspective, right. And there's ways to do it that are fun, and I think they're all kind of fun, but you're doing it right when you're getting a little uncomfortable. Okay.
Yeah.
When you're trying something new, sometimes it's not in a perfect fit. It's kind of feels a little strange, but when you're getting
your back hurts a little bit, that's a good shot.
Yeah, exactly. If you're done shooting and you kind of look like Quasimodo, you may actually have gotten a good photo.
There's some truth. There's a lot of truth to that, though. We joke about it, but there's truth to that, because what you're doing is you're getting into an uncomfortable position, which means you're getting a shot. The more uncomfortable you get, the less likely that shot will have been done by other humans, because humans, we are constantly in search of pleasure and away from pain. So as you move towards the pain, you're into no man's land in terms of perspectives, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, you gotta put effort into it. Just because you're taking photos on a smartphone doesn't mean that you're not putting effort into it. The difference is you're just carrying a much smaller camera. So you want to put effort into it. I mean, I did a photo walk yesterday. I took people around Austin, and 3 hours in the sun, people were sweating. I was sweating. I wear all black because Wesley Snipes said always bet on black, so I'm always wearing black, and I'm sweaty, and everyone's like, "Oh God, we need some beer," because we don't have water in Austin. There's beer, and so we take people are tired, but when I did the critique a few hours later, people had some really good stuff. So if you're getting into uncomfortable territory, then fine, and there's certain ways to do that, right? So one of the things you can do is take photos without really kind of looking at your screen, and kind of just using your eyes to see, maybe not looking at your screen, and then kind of just snapping as you go. And it's kind of a fun exercise to do. It's not something that you go out with the intention of, I'm going to do this, shoot blind, and it's going to be awesome. Do it with the idea, just forcing you to kind of loosen up. So it's not a conversation about technology. It's more of a conversation about seeing. And sometimes you can come away with something really cool, and then you can deconstruct that and then maybe start a series. Another way is with using the front-facing camera on your phone, right? Maybe you're photographing like this with the screen out if you don't want to see stuff, and then see what you get. The front-facing camera is not as good as the rear-facing camera, but it's not necessarily about the sharpness or the dynamic range. It's more about the content inside the photo. One thing I do like to use to change up my perspective is I like to use my AlloClip lens.
See, I've yet to buy one of those. I think I'm going to order one now after speaking with you. I've been more of an iPhone purist. Like, if I can't get it with the native lens, I'm not going to put any other stuff on there. But I see some of the shots that people are getting with those add-on lenses, and I'm blown away.
Yeah, the add-on lenses can make a big difference. I mean, I like the AlloClip lenses, but when I interviewed my buddy Jeff Noon, he uses the Moment lenses. You got to be careful with the add-on lenses, because the good ones, there's good ones, and there's ones that are not so good. We're essentially adding lenses onto another lens, and you're going to get, most every lens is going to give you a little distortion in the corners, but that's okay. It's just kind of part of the character. The bad ones are not sharp at all. Like, I had one lens that even the center was out of focus, like completely not in focus.
Yeah.
So when you buy one, just make sure you get a return policy. But the reason why this is the 4-in-1 wide angle and fisheye. And
Hmm.
the reason why I use this is if I ever do want to use a front-facing camera, say for like a selfie, it gives me a little more width, so I don't have to hold the camera so far away.
Sure.
The other thing is if I want to shoot any video, because I love to shoot video with my iPhone. You know, when you shoot video, it kind of punches in the center of the sensor to get a
Hmm.
cleaner image. So you're basically losing a lot of perspective, and this kind of helps correct for that. And then on top of that, this lens in particular, the elements can kind of screw off. And then what happens is you got a tiny little element right in there, and then that becomes a macro lens, which
Okay.
is almost working right there. But I enjoy that. I like this olive clip. It's a little of a strange fit on a 6 Plus or 6S Plus, mainly because when you attach it to the front, let me get that in there. So you attach it to the front, you can see that it's lined up,
Yeah.
but the front-facing camera is completely not lined up because
Oh, so you have to move it.
yeah, it slides. It's not a big deal, but it kind of you just kind of slide it or not slide it. I don't have this on right.
So while you're doing that, I have two questions for you.
Sure.
The first question, and I think this is the main reason why I don't have one of those now, and it's it sort of goes to Apple engineering. So you look at these keynotes, and they spend all this time on the camera. Even in the last keynote for the iPhone 7 release, they spent like a good 10 minutes talking about the new camera, and they show the exploded diagrams of all the lens elements and all the engineering that went into it, precision and all that. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to put something in front of all that technology that Apple engineered. Can the result possibly be, I mean, in any way, can it be as good as what I would get without that on there? So what is it, or am I just being an Apple fanboy?
Not at all. I think that's a genuine concern. And as I mentioned before, most of these lenses will distort your image a little bit because you're not able, it's not like a DSLR or mirrorless camera where you can remove the lens completely and then put on another lens that's engineered for that sensor. You're adding a lens on top of a lens.
Right.
So if you've had early digital cameras where pre-DSLR, that's the only way that we were able to do that. And that's kind of how we are with an iPhone. So the trade-off is this: you get a different perspective. You may be able to get photos you weren't able to get before. And then what you give up is potentially a little bit of distortion and corner sharpness. However, if you are focusing on the quality of the content, not necessarily is it technically perfect, then you're fine. And I really think with smartphones, that's the way to go. I mean, you're not going to try to go out with a smartphone and say, I'm going to get an image that's going to rival a DSLR. It's just not, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, I got my olive clip on here, and you can see, again, the back's lined up. The front is not, so you can't see the little camera window, and you just kind of slide it. I'm kind of disappointed in olive clip that they did that for the 6 Plus because it's just this plastic housing. If they just made the plastic housing like a centimeter longer,
that would just work without any kind of user interaction.
Yeah, and quite frankly, this 4-in-1 lens is $100. So, and I guess since we're talking about kind of like the not
so it's $100. Oh, it's $100 for the whole kit, or
for this piece. It's a C note.
So just that little piece is $100?
Yeah, with the 2 lenses. Yeah.
Oh, with the 2 lenses. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, with the 2 lenses.
Okay.
So if you have a 6, it fits perfect, but a 6 Plus and the S models as well, you have to slide it. The other thing we got to consider is it's not going to fit on the 7 or the 7.
That was my second
Plus.
question. So if you buy that, or the people, in other words, the people that have already purchased that for their 6 series iPhones, are they out of luck now if they upgrade?
Yes.
So when they sell their phone, that goes with the phone.
Pretty much. If you're selling it privately, it's a bonus. Keep that in your pocket, and then at the end, like, well, I'll tell you what, if you take it now, I'll give you what's in the bag. And you're like, no, I'm not going to say, but anyways.
I see, like, that self-editing coming in there. Yeah. So, okay. So, yeah. So any word on when what's the name of the company?
Aloe Clip.
So Aloe Clip, any word on when they're going to release an iPhone 7?
I haven't seen anything yet. They may have announced it today because today was a pretty big day for announcements. But good news, and this is really, really good news, is that Moment, They make Moment lenses, which is a little bayonet system that attaches here, and it's a fantastic. They're gorgeous lenses. It's like little cinema prime lenses for your iPhone.
Wow.
They tested they modified a mount and they tested it on the iPhone 7, not Plus, but the 7, and the lenses work on the 7.
On the 7, but not the dual lens guy.
Right. Which, if you think about it, if you already own the Moment lenses and you can use them on a 7, do you really need to have a dual lens camera in your 7 Plus? Because now you got, instead of 2 lenses, you got a wide, you got a macro, you've got a telephoto, and I think they just released a fisheye, and these are fantastic lenses.
Okay.
Now,
Moment? What's the that's the name of the company? What's the URL? Do you remember?
I think it's moments.co.
Moment Co. Okay. Cool.
So awesome companies based in Seattle, startup through Kickstarter. So fantastic. It's probably not going to work for the 7 Plus. I just don't see how. I mean, it's 2 lenses. How are you going to funnel 2 lenses into one? It's like just.
And what about Android? I mean, it's obviously a wider universe when it comes to Android form factors, but I would assume these companies are also building add-on lenses for people that shoot Android phones, right?
Typically, you're going to see add-on lenses for Samsung phones first because they sell more than any other phone.
Yeah.
In fact, Samsung makes their own line of lenses for the Note 5.
Oh, wow.
And they're supposedly really good. And Moment lenses also fit the Note series as well.
Okay.
So if you have a Note,
for the 7 yet that you know of?
I think for the 7 as well. Sorry, there's so many different versions. I
know.
They bleed all together in my mind, but it works, and it works with raw capture, of course. If you're shooting in the Lightroom Mobile on Android, it's a really cool little system. Works great for video too.
Okay. All right. Well, switching gears away from buying additional gear to get good photos with your already good camera. So varying your angles. If you don't want to buy anything else and you just want to use technique to get better photos, like we were saying before we started the other discussion, you can get down low, get up high. What are some other tips that people can use like right now? The next photo that they take, they want to do something different instead of just like, hey, here's a photo of my lunch. What should they do?
If you shoot vertical all the time, shoot horizontal.
Mm-hmm.
Just say, I'm going to shoot horizontal for the next week. Nothing but horizontal. If you shoot horizontal all the time, say, I'm going to shoot vertical. And then try vertical video. A lot of people kind of poo-poo that, but really, I mean, how hard is it to take your phone and go from this to this when you're consuming the content? Right? But try it. And it's not you're not going into this being like, I'm going to go into this and come out with something awesome. The idea is to kind of force yourself out of your comfort zone and try something new. So one thing I did once in a hotel room at Photo Plus, where you and I met up, is at the Yotel, I put the phone up to the window and I held it with time lapse for like 10 seconds. And I got this cool vertical hyperlapse of the buildings. And it's neat. I put it up on Vimeo, and cool. It turned out cool. It wasn't something that I shot a bunch, but it was uncomfortable to do, but it gave me a new perspective for sure.
Yeah, that's like one of the things that I put in the Pocketshooters course is you have a lot of power in all the modes, because we go through every single mode in the camera or in your phone in Pocketshooters in the course. And one of the things is there's a lot of power in all those modes in there. Even if you don't put any new software in there, like hyperlapse or anything like that, there's time lapse, there's slow motion, all those things that are already in there. So think outside of the box in terms of the kinds of things that you're capturing. And what I tell people when I do talks is, begin with the end in mind a lot of times, and don't be, because to date we've been restricted to thinking that, okay, I'm going to do a photo and that's all I can do. And maybe now if I step outside of my box a little bit, I'll do some video. But instead of thinking that way, think of what's the best technique or technology to record and tell the story of the situation that I'm at. In your case at the Yotel, it was like, hey, look at all this frenetic energy happening in New York City. What's the best way to capture that? And internally, because you're a good photographer, you were thinking, well, a still photo probably is not going to do the job. So you decided to do a time lapse, which you can do like that with your phone. So I would suggest to people, to pocket shooters out there, to make sure you do that. Just think at this, look at the scene and think, what's the best way to capture that? Whether it's time lapse, slow-mo, video, just plain old video, just a still photo, we'll likely do it in a lot of cases, but you have all these things at your disposal. Whereas when we were, back in the film days, you didn't have those. You had to like figure out how to tell the story on a single frame of film. So if there's a lot of motion going, you're like, okay, I got film and it's ISO 600 or 100. What can I do with this? Okay, I could make this, I could drag the shutter, or I could do, so you had fewer options, which made you kind of stretch the capabilities of the available technology. Now you have tons of options and you can tell the story much easier. Plus display it, right? Because back then you could do all that stuff and only a limited number of people could see it, because the end result was a print that was temporally kind of restricted in who could see it, time and space. But today you could create one, like you said, like that time lapse, put it online, and your thousands of followers can see it instantly while you're still in the moment, right?
Exactly. And I mean, the time lapse on the iPhone default camera couldn't be simpler. You just push the button. Yeah. That is it, man. It's one button. You got a time lapse. And don't think that you have to keep the camera on a tripod or steady to do a time lapse. You can take the time, hit the time lapse, grab the camera, put it in front of your face, and go for a walk. Mm-hmm. When you're done, hit stop, and now you get this crazy kind of time lapse of you zipping around in your neighborhood or wherever you're walking. That can be a lot of fun. If you have a dash mount, like a lot of people have dash mounts for their phones, try that too. And you'll see what happens.
Yeah. Lots of, just have fun with it. There's a lot of fun to be had in these little devices we have. Just play with it and have fun. All right, let's end this one. Any closing thoughts on vary your angles?
No, I mean, the accessories are good, but like we talked about, definitely doing stuff in camera as much as you can, for sure.
All right.
In camera phone, I should say.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like, is it a phone? Is it a camera? Is it a computer? What is it? You remember when Steve Jobs launched the iPhone? You remember the launch day? And he was like, we're going to announce something new. Actually, we're announcing 3 things. It's a computer. It's an internet connected device. And it's what was it? It was something else. I forget what it was. But they had 3 things on there that this new device that they were going to reveal, or these 3 new devices. And when they revealed it, it turned out to be only one thing: the brand new iPhone.
Right. Cool.
All right. Well, let's close this one off. Mr. Giulio Shorio, this is another episode of Pocket Shooters. We're having a good time doing this series. It's fantastic. And thanks to everyone that's been watching and listening to all of our episodes. We appreciate you. And please participate in our Facebook group. Actually, if you're a member of the Pocket Shooters course, you can jump into the Facebook group and interact with Giulio and I directly. Right. So, yeah, definitely do that. And also, like I said at the beginning of the show, please support us over at patreon.com/pocketshooters. This show doesn't make itself. So,
yeah, studio don't pay for itself. Come on now.
Exactly. Giulio's new baby does not feed itself.
No, man. No.
Although he poops on himself from time to time.
He poops on himself. Yeah. Yeah. But he don't go and make the dough yet.
He's in input-output mode right now.
Exactly.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you in the next episode of Pocket Shooters.